Hey people, welcome to the channel, and in this case we'll be talking about a topic often debated, which is how effective birdshot is, even at close range, even at very close range. So stick around. As always, if you want to learn more about all of these topics, you have the channel with a ton of information, especially for this sort of stuff. This is a book in which I cover it quite well. Street survival skills. You also have Surviving the Economic Collapse. You have the French version of my books as well. Survival Enforcement Économique and Street Survivals as well is also in French. And in my books, and I mention them all the time because if you're interested in these topics, you're certainly going to be well served by them. I do have a chapter dedicated exactly to this. And I actually have it here because I want to do the right thing. So in the book, I explain that birdshot is, of course, intended for bird. Birdshot, as the word itself implies, it's intended for bird. And it's only going to be effective up to, what is it, like 25 yards or so, depending on what choke you're using or not. So depending on what you're hunting, that's going to change. But give or take 25 yards, 25 meters or so, that's usually as far as it goes. Now, not in terms of defense against humans. In that case, 25 yards with birdshot is really not going to go through clothing in most cases. You may get lucky with a little bit of a bigger birdshot and the right choke and whatnot, but really it's not the kind of thing you want to have. Now, I've said in the past that in some cases when you don't want to have the overpenetration and whatnot, you may end up using some kind of birdshot or even some of the thicker ones, stuff like this. That's, it's the biggest birdshot you can have. But even then, you have to be very careful with birdshot because it is not intended for self-defense. It will fail very often at the worst possible moment, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. We have a couple instances I want to mention. The first one, this happened in Hendersonville in a collectible store. So this guy had trading cards and stuff like that, and some guy broke in without knowing that the owner was still in there, right? So you see what happened here. He broke in, he breaks in, and he starts stealing stuff, right? He walks like an idiot, probably is one. I mean, for sure, complete asshole and stupid. But he picks a couple things, and then the owner shows up with a shotgun and he runs away. Now, something I've mentioned many times here in the channel, and something you probably know is, in most cases, when the owner of the store or the house shows up with a shotgun and starts shooting, people run away. But not always. It's in general. I will even say in the enormous majority of cases, people will run away. That does not mean all, because there's stupid people out there that even when they realize they've been caught and someone is going after them with a gun, they think that the brightest thing to do is come back with a pistol and start getting into a gunfight. Dude, you're not going, this is not going well for you. You already got caught. Leave. Be a little bit less of a moron and leave. Don't make this murder. Don't make this even worse than it is. But, this genius thinks, no, I'm going to go back in there with my pistol and tiptoeing like an idiot and start getting into a gunfight with a shotgun with my 9mm. And here's the owner of this store that was living in, and he has a shotgun, right? Now, I'm no shotgun expert, but I know a thing or two about guns. And this is, obviously a pump-action shotgun, long barrel. This is the kind of gun that you usually use more for hunting. Not exactly the kind of thing you would use for home defense. I mean, you definitely can use it. Usually you'll see a longer magazine for home defense, but if this is all you have, that's fine. It's still a freaking 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. Now, the devil is in the details. What ammunition are you using? And it's something that you probably don't even think much about is, what choke are you using? Because I have some information here that I'd like to share with you guys. So he shoots with his shotgun, loaded with birdshot, right? And this dumbass gets wounded. But even then, he shoots like 5 or 6 times with his 9mm. I mean, you see it here. He's getting shot at, and he manages to get, there you see. He's getting shot at, and he shoots like 5 or 6 times. The way he walks, I mean, something is not wrong, is not okay with this guy. So these are the rounds he shot, and fortunately, the owner of the store, he was lucky. He's just lucky. He did not get hit right? He did hit the attacker with birdshot. It should have been an instant incapacitation if he had loaded that gun with, of course, with buckshot. Buckshot, birdshot, slugs. This is what you really want in your home defense gun. Now, even better than slugs, I would say yes, because even though this is, of course, a larger projectile and it's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of penetration, what you have here is multiplying the chance of going deep enough into something that will cause this attack to stop. What I mean by that is we know by now that it's more effective and more likely to stop the threat several hits because the chance of you hitting something critical is increased than with just a single more powerful, hit. And that's what you see here. But then you see something else that I find very interesting. This is the door, and you saw that before, right? This is the door, right? So this is, look at the size of this. This is like your hand would be like so. And this is the shot. These are very tiny. These are all very tiny. It doesn't even go through the very thin aluminum, I will assume. Doesn't even go through that. At 9, well, the criminal got shot at 30 feet. Right, so about 9-10 yards, give or take. Is that correct? About that. This is maybe a couple yards more, not a lot more distance. This is all happening indoors, okay? It doesn't even go through the metal. Now, this not only tells me that he obviously did use, in fact, birdshot, very small birdshot. This also tells me he's not even using a choke in his shotgun that definitely does have one. If you're going to use birdshot, and let's say you don't have anything else, it's the post-apocalyptic scenario, you will be much better served with a full choke, something that, and a choke for people that don't know what a choke is, let's go back to this. A choke is the narrowing down of the end of the barrel. You have barrels that have incorporated chokes. You usually have cylinder barrels as well, which is there's no choke whatsoever in a hunting shotgun, and this would definitely go into that. I'm pretty sure, I'm willing to bet that this shotgun has removable chokes, so he could have removed whatever choke he has here and replace it with a modified choke or even a full choke, something that narrows it down. It would have not made that pattern that you see there in the door, right? It would not have made this pattern that you see here. It would have made a small cluster. At that distance, any decent choke would have made a small cluster, and it would have been a lot more effective against our idiot attacker. These are all things. Now, I assume the guy did not have anything. He had the shotgun. He bought it somewhere. He doesn't even know what a choke is. There's other people that didn't even know. What, I could remove this tube in my... Yeah, I mean, do you even have the other ones? Do you even have the other chokes that may have come with the shotgun when it was first sold? I don't know. I bought it from this guy. He doesn't even have them. That could be the case, okay? But if you have the chokes, use full chokes if you're stuck with birdshot. That is the wisest thing to do. That's going to give you a little bit more effective stopping power, a little bit more penetration, a little bit more of that bunching up of this pattern. You don't want spraying like this because this is more for bird hunting than for self-defense. But the wisest thing to do, guys, ending the video here, go with buckshot, for crying out loud. There's people that got hit in the face with buckshot, with birdshot, and it didn't do anything at all. This guy here, in this instance, shot in the face with birdshot while crawling into a house, still survived. You don't want that guy to be capable of firing back at you in the worst possible moment. Folks, see you on our next video. Have a great day. Take care.